It's a Tuesday, and that day when we have the business chat. Michael Karanja is in the studio, and he's going to be speaking to the CEO for Jumbo Jet.
Hey, morning, Joy.
Morning.
How are you guys doing?
Hey.
How are you?
All those questions we've been having about low-cost flying, hopefully we shall get answered today. Because in studio we are joined by the CEO of Jumbo Jet, Mr. Willem Hondius, who's kindly graced our studios. And first things first, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. How are you?
You started on the 1st of April, and there was this whole campaign to get people to fly. Perhaps, what has the response been so far? Because I guess your target market was totally different to the kind of people who were flying previously.
Yeah, in fact, we are targeting people who don't fly, who have not flown before, people who travel by bus or ground transport. And I must say, so far so good. We started to sell end of February, according to plan. We started to operate 1st of April, according to plan. And we have now operated for a full 3 months. And in the meantime, we have carried over 130,000 people, of which a lot of them were indeed first-time flyers. We didn't do a survey yet, but you can see it we talk to people and we listen to them, and we had a lot of them flying for the first time. And we could also see it in the market growth. The market has been growing by around 50%, which is quite a bit. And we try to grow the market further. And we talk about domestic market, of course. So that's going quite well, I must say.
Yeah. So it's been 3 months. There was also, like I mentioned before, there was that big campaign behind it. But perhaps Jumbo Jet wasn't the first low-cost fly in the Kenyan market. But how did you manage to differentiate yourself in terms of getting those unique passengers?
Yeah, I think that the low-cost model we have introduced is different from those which are existing here in Kenya or have been here before.
Yeah.
We really have been able to drive those costs down to very low levels. That means that you are able to sell low fares. If you have high costs, you cannot sell low fares. So, and the idea is to attract people with these very low fares. And we really sell a lot of those. So that's what is attracting people. Because indeed, the fares we ask are comparable to the luxurious buses. Not the lower part of the buses, but the luxurious buses. And you see a movement of people who are used to travel by those buses to us. So it really works.
Yeah. Biggest challenge for low-cost or budget airlines has been the hidden costs, or the cost that is not mentioned as part of the ticket price. So perhaps, I know there's been all that, because I know when you came in, the advertisement was for about 2,800 shillings, but I guess the people who booked on the last day didn't find that kind of price when they were booking for a ticket.
It's very simple. The earlier you book, the cheaper you fly.
And that also applies for bigger commercial flights too?
That also applies for bigger commercial flights. So the closer you come to departure, the higher the fare. We have around 10 fares, and it starts with we had 2,850, it's now 2,950, and it goes all the way up to around 11,000. We hardly sell those 11,000. We mostly sell the lowest 3 fares. Yeah, people complained in the beginning because they thought that the whole plane would be sold against 2,850, and you cannot fly even if it's fully booked. You cannot fly for 2,850. So you have to have a mix of fares. But people get used to it, and be honest, if you cannot find the 2,850 but you can find a 3,850 or a 4,850, it's still very cheap. But people were so focused on the 2,850 that was a bit of a starting issue, a bit of a challenge to convince people that there were more fares than the 2,850.
What was perhaps the biggest complaint or the most outrageous complaint you got when you started, especially for those people who were expecting the 2,850?
Yeah, the people said you are cheating and you are lying, and you told us 2,850 and now we cannot find it. But people only looked for the day of travel, and if they would have looked a bit beyond that day, they would have found them easily. Especially in the beginning when we have thrown in a lot of those fares. But also now, if you look, let's say, safe to say, 3 weeks ahead, you will find them. But people don't look 3 weeks ahead. One of the biggest challenges we have in this market is that people do not plan very well ahead. So they wait, and then the last minute they buy a ticket, or on the day itself even, and then they complain that they cannot find that fare. So we really have to, together with the public, we have to see how we can educate each other in terms of buying a bit earlier, and then you have those low fares. I said to one person, I said, in December already we have quite a number of bookings for the Christmas period. He said, booking for the Christmas period, I might be dead by then. So
no one wants their money locked up.
Yeah, so why should I buy now? So that we have to really see how we can manage that together.
What pricing tool then do you use? Because I guess everything else, the seat is one thing, but if you have carry-on luggage, if you have extra weighted luggage, if you wanted to
what we say is we really try to keep those fares very low. And we are very transparent. The fare we advertise is what you buy and what you get. There are no hidden extras in that sense. So somebody who buys a 2850 or 2950 currently, he has a seat and he has 10 kilos of hand luggage. That's it. If you want more, that's possible. If you want to have carry-on luggage, you have to pay for it. If you want to have something to eat or drink on board, you have to pay for it. If you want to have a specific seat, you have to pay for it. If you want to change your reservation, you have to pay for it. But by asking money for all those kind of things, we can keep the basic fare very cheap. Because if somebody only travels with 10 kilos of hand luggage, why would he pay extra for somebody who's taking luggage? Yeah. So then, in fact, he would be subsidizing the other person. And I say, no, that should not be the case. Then the people who take luggage should pay for their own luggage. That's how it works.
Yeah. Obviously, you've worked for bigger airlines, even KQ, KLM, but perhaps what's the biggest difference that you've seen so far, even as Jumbo Jet started over the last three months or so?
The biggest difference with the other airlines?
Yeah.
Now, of course, we are as you call it, a point-to-point carrier. So we are a kind of bus between the cities. The only difference is that we fly. If you look to carriers like KLM and Kenya Airways, those are, as we call it, network carriers. So they bring people from other countries or from Kenya to other countries, of course, also point-to-point, but they bring a lot of people from Europe or from Asia or whatever, via Nairobi to other parts of Africa or the Middle East or whatever. So they have a lot of, as we call it, transfer traffic. So not all people end up in Nairobi. A lot of them continue. And that's what we call a network carrier. That's a completely different ball game. They also have a big mix of aircraft. They have big aircraft. The 787 just came in for Kenya Airways. They have the 777, they have the 787, the Embraer, what you name it. Having a lot of different types of aircraft means that you have little companies in your company, because every aircraft type needs to be maintained, needs to be managed, pilots, you name it. We only have one aircraft type. That's much easier to manage. You only have spare parts for that aircraft. You only have pilots for that aircraft. So that already drives your costs down quite a bit. So those are big differences.
So currently operating, was it 3 planes in 4 destinations? Perhaps have you fully you managed to optimize those 3 planes, or are you comfortable with that now before you even get new planes?
No, what we did is we took planes from Kenya Airways because they replaced the 737s with Embraers. That reduced our risk because those airplanes are from Kenya Airways. So that made it much more easy. For us, it's very important to fly on time, so to be very reliable. I must admit, the first month, April, we had quite some teething problems. So our on-time performance was not good. But since May, we fly 85% on time, which is quite high in the industry. And we do so by having 3 aircraft, but we don't utilize those 3 aircraft to its fullest. So we always have, if one of the aircraft has problems for whatever reason, we can always use the 3rd aircraft to back it up. And in that way we can fly in a very reliable way. And because people always want to have 2 things. They want to have low fares and they want to fly on time. And those are the primary things people want.
So right now you're operating Kisumu, Eldoret, Mombasa, what's the fourth?
No, Nairobi itself.
Nairobi itself.
Yeah.
So perhaps, how soon before we start seeing more routes, or even you going regional?
Now, more routes in Kenya is a bit difficult. If you see to those 3 routes, that is in fact 85% of the total domestic traffic in Kenya. So the other 50% is divided over all those other routes. And we are really looking for the main routes. The first year we will stay in flying domestic, so until the end of 2014 you will find us domestic only. Then we can iron out all issues, then we have settled down, and then you can take the next step. And the next step will be that we will fly in the region, in Eastern Africa.
Any particular country that you've seen
it depends a bit.
Traffic?
It depends a bit because Africa is not an open skies continent. So you cannot simply say, I decide today to fly to Dar es Salaam tomorrow. We are designated by the Kenyan Civil Aviation to fly to around 10 cities in Eastern Africa. But then you always have to apply also in Tanzania or Uganda or Rwanda or wherever you want to fly, because also the government of that country needs to allow you to fly there. Yeah. So if you want to start flying to, let's say, Zanzibar or Dar es Salaam, we have to start up that process quite early to get all the rights in place so that you can indeed fly.
Yeah. But so main focus is just Kenya for now?
For now the main focus is Kenya. And we are not there yet, so we try to really get more people on board who have not flown before. And what you see today, and that makes it a bit difficult, I must say, is that because there are much less tourists, I think between 30 to 50% less than last year, also due to those travel advisors. You see that the existing market is decreasing. We create a new market, creating a growth, but at the same time the existing market is decreasing. Also, the Kenyans themselves, you see that they travel less. Also for leisure, they stay away from various places. The accommodation people in Mombasa are screaming. Yeah. I think 7,000 people are laid off over the last period. So at the same time, it's a funny movement. We grow the market, and at the same time the traditional market is shrinking. So we could have carried many more passengers than we have done so far.
And are you happy? How's the passenger capacity so far? I know you mentioned you're doing almost about 100,000 passengers so far.
Yeah, we have over 130,000 passengers carried so far. We have a load factor of around 60%, which is quite okay for a startup, but we should go up, and that takes time. Because you might think that everybody knows about Jumbo Jet, but that is not the case. I was with a group of people on the street to talk with people about Jumbo Jet, and I met a few people who never heard about it. I was shocked, of course, but there are quite a number who did not hear about it yet. So we have to convince also those people to start flying.
Obviously, your biggest competition is luxury buses, or those people who offer VIP coaches for long distance travel. So how are you going to manage to get those people off and convince them that actually traveling for 7-8 hours is not as easy as traveling for 45 minutes between point to point?
No, to give you an example, not long ago we were with a big group in Accra Street. Accra Street, you might know the area, a lot of buses there. So we had quite a campaign there to convince people who were at that day going by bus. And also don't forget, Kenya, word of mouth is a very important tool here in Kenya. People talk a lot about things. So if somebody has experienced it, they will talk about it. Because you see that, again, if you have never flown, it's quite exciting to do that for the first time. And then people start talking about it in their vicinity, in their community, let's say. So that is also very important, that we see to it that people who have influence in those communities, that they fly with Jumbo Jet, so that they can tell about it, they can tell about their experiences in a positive way, and that also will steadily grow the numbers.
Jambojet seems to have modeled itself as a fun kind of carrier. I was seeing some photos on your website last week where you were even stewarding some of your passengers.
Yeah.
So how is that experience, especially for those first-time travelers? Are there any kind of weird requests that you've received so far?
No, but I made myself a uniform as well. I want to fly once in a while with the crew. Then I'm also in the operation, so I can see what actually happens. Because of course I hear a lot, but if you're not in the operation, you don't see it yourself. So it's very good to go sometimes through the whole operation to look at everything and how things work or not. But it was big fun because we had organized a trip with 3 cabin attendants who sold most of the catering items on board. So they were the big sellers. So we and they didn't know I would come. So I suddenly popped up as a steward. So I went with them through the cabin. I sold catering to people, and when we were finished, I've been talking to quite a number of passengers who wanted to know more, but also say, why don't you do this, or can you not change that? Okay, so it's very good to listen to what consumers have to say about your product, and sometimes you can explain that you cannot change it because that's the model and that's how it worked. But sometimes they might give you a good idea of adjusting things a bit.
Yeah. So currently you ranked the 4th best low-cost carrier in Africa, which is quite a feat, I must assume, for someone who's been in operation for 3 months.
Yeah, but that was funny because I didn't expect that we would be part of that survey. It's a big survey by Airlines World, and they do that every year. And you cannot expect that after 3 months that you're part of it. So we were very surprised, positively surprised, that we are already number 4 in Africa. And if you look to the list, we are in fact number 1 in Kenya. So they don't name you number 1 in Kenya, but in the list you can see you are number 1 in Kenya. So that was a very positive surprise.
Yeah. As we finish, it's currently 3 destinations, 4 aircrafts. What's the growth space for Jambojet in this market?
The growth space or pace?
Space and space at the same time.
No. I think this market can double or maybe even triple. So I think that there is enough room for growth. The only thing is it doesn't happen overnight. So you need to take time, and we will take time. So I think by the end of the year I can have a better view on how things further develop.
Passenger target by December?
Around 500,000 passengers, 600,000 passengers.
All right. Willem Hondias, thank you very much for gracing our studios.
Thank you so much.
Joy, smart. So hopefully very soon we'll see you guys starting flying and stop these mumbles of bus rides for 7 hours and get back tired.
We don't do that. We don't do that. We're probably one of his favorite customers. Please do not.
I'm not going to point fingers.
Yeah, yes. You won't point fingers at this